So my name is Mike Mamula. I'm a lead level designer here at THQ Digital Studio Phoenix. We kind of in charge of the level design and a lot of the gameplay within the level. Some of the many things just besides the whole global level. Things like friction, our deformation, and AI tuning like I mentioned, reset zones, some of the gameplay triggers and stuff. So I'll kind of show you quickly how we set that stuff up and organize it all. So basically over here on the TV is kind of the final product of our level design. We kind of take it to this state we call sort of a gray box or gray state before it gets handed off to art. But we kind of build the terrain and all the elements of the track itself. All the jumps, the rhythms and such. Right here there's an AI guy riding around, which I'll get to in a second. But our terrain is built on a 2D displacement map. Our previous games have used similar tech. We've talked about it before. Basically the white displaces higher in elevation. So this is James Stewart's track. It's a DLC track, so it's kind of geared to be a little bit harder, a little bit more core, kind of raw, and so you'll get a little bit more of that core experience. So there's a little bit less of kind of the safety concerns when we build this track. A lot of the other tracks are built to accommodate, players of all skill level. This being a DLC track, we assume that players will be kind of ramped up to their certain skill. That gives us a lot of freedom, like I said, to really build in a lot of the core elements. So James Stewart's track being a real track, we had a lot of real life inspiration to go off of. We sent some of our guys out there to get reference pictures to actually get a feeling of the real life track. For instance, video just doesn't do it justice. His jumps are just larger than life. Something you'd never expect until you saw it in real life. A lot of his jumps are just really vertical faced. You get a lot of airtime. AI just hit one of the bigger jumps on the track. So a lot of it comes from reference pictures. James actually even came out here, and when the level was kind of in flux of being designed, he gave his input. We actually even made some changes kind of on the fly. He was talking about some rhythms that he had recently done, and we were able to react to that and build in some of the rhythms that he mentioned. Well, a lot of our inspiration from the tracks starts with the game design. This game is heavily focused on Nationals and Freeride. So knowing, first of all, there's a difficulty progression to the Nationals. That's kind of the highest level. You start the game on sort of easier levels and you progress to more difficult. James Stewart's, again, being a good example of the difficult end of the progression. So in James Stewart's compound, you're going to get your first taste of Supercross. You're going to be able to free ride on these tracks, and we did a lot of changes for our Supercross tracks coming off of Reflex. Probably the biggest change was the scale. Tracks are a lot tighter, a lot more condensed, as Supercross kind of should be. Kind of that quick thinking sort of gameplay. As I mentioned before on the national tracks, the jump faces are a lot steeper. Our controls and our rider reflex really plays into that. Yeah, so James Stewart's tracks being James Stewart's tracks, you're going to find they're going to be pretty difficult. This is again going to be sort of the mid to upper end of difficulty in Supercross tracks. But everything kind of goes into Supercross just like the Nationals. There's a progression. You got to start somewhere and you got to end somewhere. Yeah, so the process we do, I would say it takes about 2 weeks for the design of the level before we hand off to art. Now the whole completion pretty much goes to the whole development of the game. There's always remaining items to fix or to touch up. But it really just starts kind of with more of the fantasy tracks, more of the in-house created tracks. It comes from that high level design. I mentioned difficulty plays a lot into it in the progression. With James Stewart's track, we kind of had the design sort of already set as a real life example. So there's a little bit of that forethought cut out of there, but still it was about 2 weeks of creation. And a lot of that is just meetings and buy-in and direction setting and such. Physical work, again, is about 5 days to 1 week of creation on the level. Yeah, so for Alive, we did a lot of changes to the AI. A lot playing into the decisions we made on the game and level design, such as scale and such. Some of the mechanics that Elliot may have talked about earlier, such as the kind of refined seat bounce mechanic, the clutch mechanic, even as far as you use our brakes more than ever before. We had to kind of reteach the AI those behaviors, so we can then tap into those behaviors a lot. So the AI are more dynamic than ever before. They really cater to the lower difficulties, the casual players, people who just want to get in and bar bang. And then they also kind of cater to the real pro expert players. You can load up your all-time AI, and you know they're gonna the all-time AI are really gonna give you a run for your money. So some of those behaviors, like I said, really play into allowing that difficulty range. One of the best examples is right off the start. You'll see kind of the beginner AI. They'll bump the gate and stuff. Some will lurch forward before others. You know, they kind of are a little antsy. Where the pro guys, they're focused, and as soon as the gate drops, the whole line will lurch forward on you. So through kind of my job is tuning the AI as they ride the track. There's my partner Jared, our engineer. He kind of embeds a lot of the just innate behaviors in the AI, how they just naturally read the track. For instance, he knows how to handle a corner in uphills, downhills, things like braking ahead of time. I kind of give them very generic set behaviors, such as speeds through a corner. If a certain jump requires seat bounce, I kind of tell the AI what speed range is seat bounce or not. And again, that even plays into the difficulty. Some of the more amateur AI may kind of fluctuate on those seat bounce behaviors. They might fluctuate, like I mentioned, on the gate or the clutch nodes. And all those settings kind of come just in a tool here. We just lay out a spline. Each node can assign any sort of behaviors that you can do as a player, such as clutch, pullback, seat bounce. I mentioned that AI read a lot of the track and drive the track themselves. Another kind of cool improvement that we were able to tap into on the game design side was some of the rider skills. And those really applied for riders like James Stewart, for instance. We kind of, not to spoil the surprise, but we gave him a whole bucket full of rider skills. You're going to see Stewart, you know, probably get the whole shot. He's certainly going to scrub harder than any other rider out there. He has the scrub rider skill. So that even gives sort of the pro AI, the super all-time guys, just that even extra level, kind of turn it up to 11, sort of say.